U.S. Representative John Moolenaar has been a major voice in opposition of the battery plant. Today, News8's political reporter Rick Albin spoke to him about the state's panel's decision to abandon the incentives for the project.
Earlier today, there was a release, and I'm not going to read the whole thing in the interest of time, but if I understand it correctly, it looks like to me that the Gotion battery plant, because they didn't live up to the agreements they'd made to get some of the state funding they needed or wanted to build their plant up in Mecosta County, it looks like that project isn't going to happen. Is that your understanding?
Well, they didn't keep their promises. The state is pulling the plug. And it's basically because they went for 4 months without doing what they said they were going to do. And now the state is going to try and get its money back. And this is a big win for the people of Green Charter Township, the people of Mecosta County, who spoke out loudly and said, we don't want a company that's affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party in our backyard.
You have been very vocal, opposed to this. Then Senator J.D. Vance, campaigning for vice president, had a rally really close to where this would have gone. And I have to point out, you were the chairman of the U.S. House Select Committee on Strategic Competition between the United States and the Communist Chinese Party. So in that position, how much did you influence some of the thought on this?
Well, I had legislation called the No Gotion Act, which would deny federal taxpayer dollars from going to fund companies affiliated with our adversaries like China, Russia, North Korea, Iran. And that was signed into law by President Trump as part of the Working Families Tax Cut. And when you look at Gotion, you'd say, you know, they were heavily trying to rely on federal taxpayer dollars, state taxpayer dollars, plus being funded by the Chinese Communist Party and the Chinese government. We don't want to further our dependence on China. We've seen how they're leveraging different technologies and materials that we need in our supply chain. And so this is a victory to lessen our dependence. In my role with the Chinese Communist Party committee, I can see the danger that we have as a country when we're relying on medicines, when we're relying on rare earth materials that are used in manufacturing. And so we don't want to be dependent on our automotive sector or our battery sector.
We've got just a few moments left, but one of the concerns I've heard from a lot of people, some lawmakers, is that it's not just about technology, but it's also about farmland, that a lot of foreign interests are buying up farmland everywhere, but particularly in the West where there are large swaths of land they can buy. Is your committee looking at that?
We sure are. In fact, we're having legislation on that very topic, and it's important to note that often they like to be strategically located by military bases and defense installations. So it's a national security as well as a food security risk.
Congressman, as always, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much for spending it with us today.
Thank you, Rick.